Let's start from why this network. So we are seeing, I think, many new layer ones being developed, especially in the last 30 years. And all these layer one solutions are all claiming that they are, they are faster than Bitcoin. Time is lower. Bitcoin has a block time of 10 minutes, right? So it's quite a long time. But at the same time, the majority of these projects forget the fact that, yes, if you can be faster than Bitcoin, but you have to be more centralized than Bitcoin. And that could be a problem, right? So Bitcoin, the strength of Bitcoin is definitely not the speed, but is the fact that it's simple, first of all, and it is really hard to change. Years, ages to change even simple things in Bitcoin. And that is by design. And that's something that will inherently make a Bitcoin the best and decentralized, distributed.
Hello, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and as usual, I'm the host of today's podcast. Today, we have a very special guest. His name is Paolo Ardoino, the CTO of Bitfinex. Welcome to the show, Paolo.
Thank you very much, Ben. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Great. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Paolo. How did you get started in crypto?
So my story in crypto starts from 2013. I was working already in the traditional financial industry. So actually, my job was in a way interesting because I got to develop some interesting technology especially cloud technology for banks and hedge funds. But at the same time, my daily challenge was with this extremely updated infrastructure that was characterizing the traditional financial industry. So I started looking around and starting hearing about Bitcoin. And when I finally read the white paper in 2013, I was amazed by the potential of the blockchain technology. So I understood first the potential of the blockchain technology rather than Bitcoin as a currency. So, my daily job at my firm was quite annoying for certain in certain aspects because I had to deal with banks that have extremely slow, buggy interfaces, and the reconciliation of data across all the trading venues where the hedge funds were trading was so painful. And one blockchain was completely a different animal. One of the main features of blockchain is data consistency. And resiliency. So everyone that is looking at or has a synchronized node will see the very same data. And it was exciting for me because then finally I didn't have to lose all the time, many hours per day in trying to get around the issues of downloading the data, making sure the data was clean and so on. So that was really the holy grail for me. And then after a few months, after reading more and thinking more about it, also the philosophical aspects of Bitcoin struck me. Bitcoin as this instrument of freedom, as this new libertarian monetary system, the actual internet currency. So at that time, at the end of 2014, I was lucky to meet Giancarlo, CFO at Bitfinex and Tether, and he started, given my IT background, he started asking me a little bit of help because he liked really a lot the product that we developed in my own startup. And Bitfinex at the time had some performance issues, right? Bitfinex was the first margin trading platform, so had leverage, has funding, and all these things. And it was becoming extremely popular. So over time, it became apparent that the matching engine and the infrastructure in general had to scale up. to sustain the new inflow of users and the number of orders. So that's my story. That's how I started, right? So when Giancarlo asked me, was first 1 hour per day, then it became 2 hours per day, 3 hours per day, and then I decided to shut down my startup and dedicate full time to Bitfinex.
Wow, that's quite a good story. It's quite rare we get one of the OGs on the show. So tell me, right? I think a lot of our audience might not be aware because I think most of them are quite new users. For those of you who are not aware, Bitfinex is one of the OG exchanges in crypto. They're one of the oldest. And like you mentioned, they do a lot of margin trading. So could you tell me a little bit of what does a day-to-day look like at Bitfinex?
So today, the day-to-day at Bitfinex looks like, for me, about I of course oversee the entire development of the platform, right? So we have many different teams because we have many different products, right? Of course, we have the main trading platform. We have Bitfinex derivatives. We have Bitfinex securities. We have a Honey framework that is an open source algorithmic trading system. We have all the open source libraries. We have we are building additional features for the different trading screens, like we are, for example, with composable UI. So we have a ton of features and ton of products in Bitfinex. So each one has a team, has a dedicated team. So my role is ensuring that the fundamental architecture of all these projects remain resilient, remain scalable. And as I always say to my team members, everything that we have to build in Bitfinex has to resist to the wrath of God. So right in the early 2020, it was March 11, 12 of March 2020. It was the moment when Donald Trump, yes, the Black Swan event, and Donald Trump that night, Donald Trump. Well, it was night for me. I was the Crypto Compare conference in London around those days, and I recall it like it was yesterday. And at that moment, Donald Trump closed the inbound flights into US due to COVID, right? So the entire market crashed, the stock market crashed, the crypto market started losing 50%. And actually, Bitfinex was the only platform that stayed alive, right? Everyone went alive. We recall BitMEX that stopped trading, and all the other exchanges were underwater due to the user load and so on. And Bitfinex kept going, right? So the reason why Bitfinex always keeps going is because we built this our infrastructure on a extremely modular and system based on microservices. But they are we have more than 500 different microservices, and each one is redundant 4 times. So whatever happens, we can sustain almost any amount of load without having issues. So that is my day-to-day, ensuring that the platform is extremely resilient, functioning, and so on. Of course, I still work as I'm the leader of the trading engine development, so I still develop the trading engine myself and a few other core functionalities of the platform. And I love coding. So my life, I started coding when I was 8, and I want to keep coding for the rest of my life. Then, of course, I oversee other parts of the business, like the strategy and the business development. So I had to learn a lot about regulations. I learned a lot about legal matters. So I try to devote 60, 70% of the time to the development aspects and 30% of the time to all the other matters that when it comes to legal, business development and regulations.
Oh, that sounds like a lot, but I guess it's expected of a CTO.
Yeah. Well, it's also fun.
yeah, for sure. So you mentioned a bit earlier about the different kinds of products at Bitfinex, and I heard some about the Bitfinex securities, which I've been hearing a lot of chatter about. There's a lot of innovation going on. Would you share a little bit more about this product and what's happening?
So I think that you are in in this world, in the crypto world, since a while. So you know that from the start of even in 2017, starting from 2017 with the ICO boom, all the tokens, all the ICOs, all the crypto tokens have always tried to avoid the denomination of security, right? Every token make sure that they are not actually being considered security. There is nothing wrong to be a security, actually, right? So it just needs a little bit more regulations. So securities are like stocks, are bonds, are shares of funds, and so on. So with Bitfinex, we started thinking, okay, how we can actually bring the securities world to crypto. So we have seen traditional exchanges like CME started to list crypto products, but we, as a crypto first exchange, we want to start expanding our offering and start providing securities. We have seen in the last years few exchanges offering the classic Google stocks trading, Apple stocks trading, and so on. I find that honestly boring, because you can trade that stuff from everywhere, right? So from Robinhood, but also from I'm pretty sure that your bank account has a small trading interface where you can trade stocks, right? So there is no need for that. And also that would be, in a way, wouldn't be a good story, a good continuation for our industry. Our industry is based on a more democratic access to financial services. And the way I see it, the way our team is seeing this, is that there is a huge opportunity in securities, but not having, again, the classic stocks being traded yet again and over again, but actually giving a platform, providing a platform for startups that have a market cap from 50 million to 500 million, that are not in the US, that are maybe in emerging markets, providing the startups to these companies so they can run an IPO and they can have a fair secondary market with affordable prices, right? If you want to get listed on NASDAQ, it costs a ton of money. It's the level of stress that you have and the difficulties you have to go through to get there is insane. We in crypto learn a lot. We have strict controls because compliance is important. Of course, we have a really good KYC ML practices, but at the same time, the crypto industry design all its processes starting from the user, from the customer, right? So we are a customer first. We have a customer first approach. While NASDAQ is an elitary trading venue, we instead have, over the last 10 years, this year we celebrate the 10 years of Bitfinex. Over the last 10 years, we developed and always kept improving this process that was actually trying to be created around the needs of the user. So when the user sign up on Bitfinex, he gets guided to all the different steps. He understands exactly what they have to provide and how to deposit, what are the different features that we have, and so on. So we offer a much better user experience, to summarize it, right? So if we can bring this to companies that want to actually raise capital, that is, we can finally provide to these people a better and newer approach, a fairer approach to capital raise. Right now, if you are a company and you are like a 100 million market cap company, you want to raise capital, you have to go to an investment bank. You have to do, there's so, the level of constraints that you have is astonishing, and also there's a lot of hidden things that you might not expect in the process. So our process is much more transparent, right? So we have obtained with Bitfinex a license from the Kazakh authority in Astana that is still regulated, is extremely transparent, but also provides required and still require the company to provide a key information document with all the disclosures, with the quarterly updates, and so on and so forth. But the process is streamlined. And the company in this way will have a set of requirements, a fixed set of requirements that are clear from the start. And the cost of application is much lower than what you have in the traditional world. Because in the traditional world, everyone wants a piece of you, right? Everyone wants a piece of the money that you are going to make.
Yep.
So you have 10 different intermediaries, everyone trying to get this nice piece of the pie, and so on and so forth. With Bitfinex securities, everything is more transparent, is streamlined. Now, we are also working in order to add redundancy and add more options. We are also adding, we are working to prepare ourselves to obtain a license as soon as El Salvador law that will grant a license to digital asset service providers will be available. Bitfinex Securities will apply to get it, so that we can also add another entity regulated in El Salvador. The interesting thing, though, is that with these licenses, we can support companies from almost everywhere in the world. Of course, there are the prohibited jurisdiction. We will never serve the US, but you can have other companies in Europe, in Bahamas, in Latin America, in Turkey, that can apply and can still do all the process, although they are not in El Salvador or they are not in Kazakhstan. So we found these two jurisdictions that are, in effect, extremely open to cryptos. For the world is evolving. Finally, certain more smaller jurisdictions, but also emerging markets related jurisdictions are understanding that there is a lot of good things happening in crypto. So they are actually trying to adjust their regulations to embrace crypto rather than trying to stop it or being scared of crypto.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the whole product sounds a bit like IDOs, but for traditional companies. You kind of help.
That's correct.
Right? And I'm curious, will crypto native projects be able to apply for this, for example, DAOs or anything like that? Or for now, it's just for real private or public listed companies?
So everyone can apply, as long as, of course, they have to be approved by the regulator, right? So they have to submit the key information document. So usually DAOs tend to try to not
Definitely
claim
not.
ownership or not try to claim control. So but DAOs can be also an interesting model for standard stocks. So you can use actually DAOs, KYC DAOs, to have control over company actions and have accountability for company actions. So in that case, I think that could be possible for this type of recognized and accounted DAOs to be to apply for Bitfinex securities.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty interesting because there are already a number of jurisdictions that are starting to recognize DAOs, like, if I'm not mistaken, Wyoming in the US.
But also Switzerland. We have been discussing with Switzerland, with Swiss regulators with the different projects, and we see that they are pretty open to recognizing DAOs in certain forms.
One of the other things that Bitfinex has been also working or trying to push forward is the Lightning Network, right? And I think Bitfinex has been providing a lot of support to the ecosystem. Could you share what kind of development support is there and why this network in particular?
So let's start from why this network. So we are seeing, I think, many new layer ones being developed, especially in the last 30 years. And all these layer one solutions are all claiming that they are, they are faster than Bitcoin. It's easy, and they have more features than Bitcoin. So they can sustain actual mass adoption. I don't think that is true. I think that the majority of these solutions are actually, they are faster than Bitcoin for sure. The block time is lower. Bitcoin has a block time of 10 minutes, right? So it's quite a long time. But at the same time, the majority of these projects forget the fact that, yes, if you can be faster than Bitcoin, but you have to be more centralized than Bitcoin. And that could be a problem, right? So Bitcoin, the strength of Bitcoin is definitely not the speed, but is the fact that it's simple, first of all, and it is really hard to change. And it's not a bad thing, it's a great thing. The fact that randomly there is no guide, there is no CEO, no one can take decisions for everyone else, right? So if you want to change one single thing in Bitcoin, you have to either get a user activated soft fork or do an hard fork, but it takes years, ages to change even simple things in Bitcoin. And that is by design. And that's something that will inherently make a Bitcoin the best and decentralized, distributed monetary network ever known to humanity. Now, these other layer ones, of course, want to compete with Bitcoin and want to get a piece of the pie in the micropayments part. But again, even if you have, let's assume that some blockchain has even 50,000 transactions per second, can handle 50,000 transactions per second or 10,000 transactions per second, right? There are many of these blockchains that can claim a scale from 10,000 to 50,000. The problem is that as soon as there is a bit of throughput, we have seen in so many times that this blockchain start to having issues, right? They lose transactions. The mempool really get overloaded. So you are a user, you send a transaction, you don't know if you have to retry 10 times to send a transaction. Yep. You maybe send twice the money. Super painful experience. So even if you are able, let's say, to scale perfectly, imagine that even you can scale perfectly to 50,000 transactions per second. It is not sufficient. I mean, we are living in a world where there is not just crypto that is booming. There is also IoT, Internet of Things. There is artificial intelligence. We are going to live in the next 10 years in a world where you are going to have machine-to-machine payments. You are going to have fridges. We have already now fridges that are buying groceries. If they see that you don't have enough milk in the fridge, they can place an order for you. You will have cars that will be able to refuel themselves or pay for the fuel. You will be able to have light bulbs buying the electricity with micropayments they will be able to buy the electricity they need. So we are not talking about 50,000 transactions per second. We are talking about tens of millions of transactions per second in the next 10 to 15 years. So what is, from pure technological perspective, there could be two solutions, right? Well, if you have a layer one, one of the main components or main classic features of a layer one is to have a share status, right? If Ben, if your fridge is going to buy some salad for you, in a layer one solution, I will know that your fridge is buying some salad. Why? But honestly, why should I care, right? If the fridge is buying for you. The only way to solve it is actually using layer two solutions, right? And again, layer two solutions, as we are seeing many also in Ethereum and so on, they are still extremely centralized because they have, a set of validators and so on and so forth. They are basically trying to recreate a smaller layer one just on top of an existing layer one. So again, that is not a solution. The only viable solution is to have channels and make this thing actually peer-to-peer. So if you want to buy groceries, your fridge want to buy groceries, your fridge can open a channel with a grocery store in your city and deal with that. So no one apart the grocery store and yourself will know what is happening in that channel. And that is the only way to scale. Otherwise, it will become a huge mess and everyone will get upset, transactions will not confirm, and also we will be always in a situation that the first time that there is a little bit of wind, all these blockchains will anyway fail, right? most of these blockchain try to reduce the block time to sub-second, but there is a big limit also. There is it's called speed of light, right? You have, if you send one transaction from Lugano maybe to Tokyo, then it takes 150 milliseconds to arrive there, and so if you have a block time of 400 or 500 milliseconds, it means that to achieve a global consensus, you have to be really fast. But you cannot. You have to make sure that there is no disruption in the global internet. Right. The first time there is a little bit of wind, there are some, maybe there is a war and so on. There is a more instability. The more instability there is in the global connections, the more unstable will become your layer one. So. Sorry for the long story.
No, it's fine.
It was really important to explain. So I believe that layer one. Lightning Network is the really is how a micropayment system should be built to be future proof and to be able to scale to the actual need of the future of our humanity. So that's why with Bitfinex and Tether, we are investing in projects that are developing tooling for Lightning Network to make it more, to allow other exchanges, to allow merchants also to integrate with Lightning Network in a simple way. As well as we are funding different projects that aim to reuse the very same technology that powers Lightning Network to also bring tokens on Lightning Network. Because one thing is sending Bitcoin back and forth, but then you can start sending back and forth also stable coins, and that could be even more exciting for merchants. So in a way, it's not just about and all this protected by the Bitcoin security. So Bitcoin is more secure network because it's most decentralized. It's really possible to take it over, right? Governments try to shut it down periodically. China tries to ban it, and then there are so many interests, but no one can control it. It is already proven, and the higher the market cap, the more investment in mining, the harder it will get to try to control Bitcoin. So it just makes sense to build on Lightning Network, because I don't like I don't care to invest in something that will not scale up above the next 2-3 years. Right? Technology is moving fast, and we need to be prepared for the next 15 to 20 years, not just looking at tomorrow.
Okay, so I'm curious, because Lightning Network, as you mentioned, it's maybe one of the only ways for a foolproof, sustainable future where we have millions of payment transactions per second. What about the other Bitcoin L2 solutions like RSK and DeFi Network? What are your thoughts on that?
So RSK, I think, is merge mined with Bitcoin. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of these solutions personally. I think that I don't mind to have side chains like Liquid that try to also be test some features that might go into Bitcoin at the later stage, right? It's kind of a test ground for Bitcoin features. And in a way, what I like about this approach, so if you know how Lightning Network works, you have to, when you open a channel, you have to basically send each one of the parties have to send a transaction on the main chain, Bitcoin main chain. With Lightning Network, with Liquid, you can imagine to reuse the very same Lightning Network stack, but using Liquid instead of layer one. So what I like side chains. I believe that they are another great way to improve even further the tooling around Bitcoin. But I like the side chains that respect the same model of Bitcoin. So, UTXOs that they are adding maybe a privacy layer, and they they can allow. So imagine that you have Lightning Network, and you can choose if to use it directly on layer one. If you have a mission critical transaction to perform, or you can use Liquid if you are just buying a slice of bread. right? So, but you have the same tool. Instead, with the other solution like RSK, you can reuse the Ethereum tooling. I prefer to reuse for Bitcoin. I want to use the Bitcoin toolings. So that is where my mandate is at.
Now, what are the biggest criticisms about Bitcoin? You mentioned how Bitcoin is probably the most foolproof method in the future. But one of the biggest criticisms is that it also consumes a lot of energy, and because of its proof of work algorithm. What are your thoughts on this, and how is this being addressed by the Bitcoin community?
So this is one of the most interesting topics, I believe, because first of all, there is a good reason why there exists proof of work. So, it's not optional, right? So one of the best features for me, and I think that for many sustainers of the proof of work is that with the proof of work, the more Bitcoin you own, if the more Bitcoin you own, it won't give you more control over the network. With proof of stake, the more Ethereum you have, the more control you will have over the network, right? Yep. So there is so decoupling the wealth of a person from the control of the network is something that is crucial. So it's crucial because now we are living in a world that, of course, there is a war now, but has been fairly stable over the last 7 years. But imagine, so we are in this industry because something really bad kept happening in the traditional financial world, and especially happened in 2008, where the wealthier people had full control over the monetary system and the entire financial system. So Bitcoin was born with this segregation between control over the network was for developers, was people that actually were putting the work of maintaining the network. And on the other side, you had people that were, interested to get exposure to the new currency and buy the currency and use it as a wealth storage system. But there are two different use cases. The issues happen when you put the two things together. So I think it's a mistake going back to the same, history has an important role in our lives. If you don't know your history, you will keep making the same mistakes. So since history should never be forgotten. So we know we in the first block of Bitcoin in January 3rd, 2009, there was a clear reference of the crisis in 2008. So I think that's why I believe that proof of work is of critical importance. Now, definitely proof of work uses a lot of energy. The amount of energy that it uses is actually overstated by many, and also I'm really involved, and we have invested with Bitfinex and Tether in many companies, few companies that are involved in mining, and all of them are actually using the wide range of green energy solutions or renewable energy solutions, and actually they're investing a ton of money to push for green energy development, so to build green energy production infrastructure. So actually, the proof of work compared to the other industries that use much more energy, right? Even washing machines and so on and so forth, right? If you or even just the banking industry, there are so many industries that consume more than Bitcoin. Yet no one of these industries have ever tried to do something good for the environment and trying to pour a ton of money in research from green energy. So then comes a new currency, and suddenly everyone is upset about the energy that new industry, that new currencies consume. But of course, this is a political issue. This is like elitary finance, getting upset because they don't have control over the thing. But the right narrative is, yes, Bitcoin consumes a lot of energy, but that is a good driver for, first of all, push for efficiency in chipsets. So in chips, so we are seeing TMC, we are seeing Intel. They are all now jumping on the bandwagon and work to develop better chips. So they will, we went from 14 nanometers to 7 nanometers. Now we are talking about 5 nanometers. So that is also driving not just the research in ASICs when it comes to the performance increase in ASICs, but in all the other chips that are powering our laptops and mobile phones and so on. Plus, you have at the very same industry, so the Bitcoin mining industry is really actually caring about how to improve the quality of people's life. And there is a lot of investment in green energy. But also, when we are seeing Texas, yes, Texas miners are generating electricity from burning the gas from these extraction centers from the soil. But actually, that was just burned and not used. So actually, it brings additional. So these are all smart moves that show that we, for so many years, the humanity for so many years wasted a lot of energy that could be reused, and this is all figured out by miners, by Bitcoiners. So I believe that the governments should actually praise the work that Bitcoins are doing for their environment rather than spreading fat.
I completely get it. I think one of the biggest examples of this, I think, is the El Salvador movement. They legalized Bitcoin as a form of legal tender, and they also recently came up with their not really, it's not really implemented yet, but they eventually plan to implement their Bitcoin volcano bonds. What are your thoughts on that?
So I would like to make a slight correction. It's called, it is the volcano token.
Volcano tokens.
Just for the listener, because the bond would infer, and I know that, and sorry, didn't mean to be rude, but the bond would infer certain features that the actual volcano token might not have, right? So this token will be definitely a security token, will also give you access to a coupon. It is being said that is 6.5% per year and so on. But the bond would have some inherent features like having a custodian bank and have certain guarantees that this token might have, but there is no key information document yet. So when I talk to people, I'm trying to be careful to explain the difference because it's important. The educational part is really important, right? When you hear about it, you need to know that if it is exactly a bond or not. So I wanted to make the clarification. I think this is one of the best stories from 2022, honestly. This is the first time that a sovereign government decides to look outside from the traditional platform for raise capital for their own country, and they look at a growing industry, an industry that counts, from $2 to $3 trillion, depending, of course, on the price, the global prices. But is an industry that, in my opinion, can definitely afford 1 billion. Right, so we are seeing Shiba Inu that is probably now, I don't know, even could be like a $15 billion thing. So if people are happy to invest in Shiba Inu, that kind of money, or why shouldn't they invest in something like a token that could be helpful to an entire population of 6 million people? So this is the train of thought that I'm hearing a lot from the people I talk to when in relation to this token. So everyone sees this as a revolutionary thing, right? So the first time, again, this is one of the things that our industry is making it possible. We talk about the push in terms of research in renewable energy. This is another big impact that we're having as an industry. How actual people, like normal people, like companies we discussed previously for Bitfinex Securities, companies can find a way to disintermediate themselves from 10 actors that are going to squeeze them for a lot of fees to raise capital for them. Similar here, right? So it's all about having options. We are not saying the traditional world is financial world is all wrong, but governments as private companies should have options. We, as Bitfinex Securities, we represent an option. We represent a new way, a new technological platform for issuers. An issuer could be the government of El Salvador, or could be a private company. So we just provide a platform, a technological platform for them to perform this operation. But that is a platform built over the years to facilitate the journey of the user from A to Z.
I think you shared a lot of great points because, like you mentioned, this is the first time where people have an alternative to the existing financial system. I think recently I just saw a talk by the IMF as well, who basically admitted that, that we focus a lot on short-term thinking, but in terms of the long-term process, the consequences of our actions, especially with the nature of every country just print money and debt right now, people don't really think about that. And I think what you're essentially trying to highlight is that, crypto is the alternative. It's an option and it might be the better option.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that was great chat so far. I kind of want to round off the session with two last things. Firstly, what are Bitfinex plans for 2022?
So in 2022, we are going to focus almost 100% on Bitfinex Securities. I believe that it is the least understood section of our industry, I believe. So many are focusing on being the next Robin Hood. I believe for us also to be respectful of the ethos of our industry of Bitcoin, we need to provide a better platform for small companies to have a fair access to capital. So that's why, personally, this is a beautiful story and I'm so glad that I'm being part of it. So we are actually going to start. We tested this very proof of concept with Blockstream mining node that was able to successfully raise $10 million, and we have now a ton of companies aligned to work with us to raise capital. Right, so they want to issue their tokens using our tech platform, Bitfinex Securities, and we have. We are in a full overbooking mode now, so we are trying to find a solution to satisfy everyone. So it's a good problem to have, but it's a really interesting problem. And the second is, of course, Bitfinex is a technology-first company. So by mid of this year, so around the end of Q2, we plan to release our communication platform. So yes, Bitfinex started as an exchange, but it's the very same reason why all people get involved with Bitfinex is actually the fact that we want to keep carry on with the vision, the philosophy that was born with Bitcoin. So we are also releasing a full communication suite that is fully peer-to-peer, is a Zoom style and Signal replacement, basically, but it's going to be fully peer-to-peer and private and so on. It's going to be probably one of the best projects that we will ever deliver. There will be no token. It's free of use. Will be open source. We are extremely excited. So we are working with other teams, with external teams, with this. So it's not a pure Bitcoin project, but it's something that we emotionally, from a strategic point of view, with effort, we are investing a lot because again, we are working with another company on this project as a JV, and is I believe is going in a way to fulfill the actual vision of our industry. On one side, you have freedom of money, freedom. You have to add freedom of communication, freedom of speech, right? So you cannot have freedom of money without freedom of speech. So we wanted to focus on the full story. So you will see more news coming soon around this topic, and that is what we have in our in what we are working on behind the scenes.
Thanks for sharing the teaser. Looking forward to it. And the second question is not really a question, but it's more like giving way to your side. Is there anything else that you or on behalf of Bitfinex would like to share with our audience? Maybe share your socials, anything like that at all?
First of all, a quick suggestion, always read, educate yourself, and make sure that before trading, investing, you understand exactly what you are trading and investing in. And second is, if you want to follow Bitfinex, is just on Twitter @Bitfinex, and myself is @Paolo Ardoino. So name, surname, all together. Thank you very much, man.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you so much for coming on. It was a great session. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
For the latest crypto prices, visit our website. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep up to date on the latest crypto trends.